kind of figuring out how I want the setup exactly. I don't know if you guys are too far away from the painting or not. I feel like you might be. How to get you closer. Circle for the kill. I've been you. I know you. Your facade is a scam. You know, making me cry. This is the way that I am. Sorry, I have such a hard time setting up a live stream just right. But I can't see the image until I've started. We'll go with this for now. If anyone's here listening, let me know if you don't like it. Another type you see? See what up and smile. Another story to tell, another time for something down. I might end up closing that window instead of having it open. I thought I'd like having that window open, but I think it makes it harder for me to see what colors I'm mixing. Okay, now I'll be back. Oh, hey! Welcome to the stream, Hichiko. And welcome to the stream, Septic Girl. Mostly just, I don't know if I like that light angle. So I'll be right back. Come on, dude. Okay, so we'll go with that instead for now. Like, how am I doing? I'm hanging in there. Doing good, pretty good right now. First day of January today, huh? Didn't even actually like think about that until just now that it's the first day of January. I'm splashing some color onto some Magical Girl requests I did from over on my Tumblr that I wanted to get some color splash on. I've been actually like planning this stream for maybe a week or something now. It's been kind of a while. Like, I knew I wanted to like color these, and I was like, I might as well stream if I'm doing that. But I need to find a good time for that because it's winter break, but I work during winter break. I don't usually do a ton of work during the school year. I'm a TA, but that's not a ton. But I go to I have an actual job that I hold over winter break. So I was busy with that mostly. So everything now has to try to fit around that schedule. And I work early tomorrow, and I don't want to go in early tomorrow. I start at 8 and I go till 4. I don't want to work that shift. I am using Van Gogh brand watercolors. I want to say they're student grade and they're like high end of student grade. Paints. I used them for a class once and I just got really attached to them. So they're just what I use. Also, they're what I have on hand. So why would I get something else when I have these just on hand? You know? These particular magical girls are all based on like herbs. That's what the request was. So we have lavender, clover, and hyssop. So they'll all actually end up being colors. Oh, dang it. We'll fix her skin in a bit. Are you guys too far away from the picture? Because I can try to find a way to lower my camera down closer. It's just going to take some finagling. They're good. I enjoy them. It's fine? Okay. I mean, I like these watercolors. I started off with a small set, so like one that was like half this size. And then I asked for some for Christmas, and what I meant was, like last Christmas. And what I actually meant was refill tubes. But I got these, and these weren't, and I've grown really attached to this palette. But what's most important for when you're getting like colors is you want to get like obviously one of each primary color. And from the class I took, oh no, I guess it's just you and me, Hichiko. I mean, somebody popped in and said hi earlier. Septic Girl said hello, Happy New Year, but it looks like it's just us for now. It says there's 2 people watching, so someone's lurking. If you're here and lurking, you're welcome to lurk as long as you want. Ain't no reason to you don't gotta be active in the chat if you don't want to be active in the chat. Oh, but yeah, so like a primary color, and you want a warm tone and a cool tone of each one. So like there's like a warm red and then a cool red and then a warm blue and a cool blue, and then brown is nice to have, and like a white. White isn't super important in watercolor, but it's okay to have. And then a Payne's gray, and then these other ones are just nice to have. And I think it's like a warm brown and a cool brown too. Yeah, I don't mind you talking to me at all. I usually either blab during streams or I talk with the people during streams. It's been a while since I've done a live stream like this, but usually I chat and stuff. I don't mind it at all. I might be a little quiet because sometimes I get like focused on what I'm doing, but I don't mind talking at all. Get around. I want to do this. I think we want. I didn't actually think about what colors I wanted this outfit to be, so we're just gonna wing it. How that music used to make me smile. And I'm not really using watercolors as watercolors right now. I'm using watercolors more as just like a easy coloring device. But I have a couple paintings later that I want to work on. So we're gonna splash some color onto these magical girls, and then I'm hoping to do a couple like Hollow Knight pictures that I sketched out this morning, and try to splash some color onto those using both watercolors and gouache, because I got gouache for Christmas and I've never used gouache ever. Gouache is like a midway point between watercolors and acrylics, but I've never used them before, so I'm excited to play with them a bit. But that'll be after I get these colored. Oh, thank you. Can you see it when I lean over? Oh, you're not really late at all. Is it Jelena? Helena? I don't know. I hope I pronounce it right. If I ever pronounce anyone's name a way that they don't like, please let me know. But welcome to the stream. Yeah, it's old dyed hair, so I've been kind of growing it out. It used to be like blue, but it's not really anymore. Hey, welcome to the stream and Happy New Year, Sequir? I'm not sure how to pronounce that name. Ah. Why do you believe in rock and roll? Can music save your mortal soul? Did you guys all have a good and Happy New Year's? Love again, 'cause I saw you dancing in the gym. Man, I really was just like, I'm not gonna make this easy to discern what any of these shapes are, huh? I drew this a little while ago now. Not too long ago, but it's been like... Did I draw this before Christmas? I might have actually drawn this before Christmas. It's hard to remember. But I drew this a while ago now, so... I don't exactly remember what all my thoughts were on the design, but we'll wing it. Very cool. Cold New Year's. It's a little chilly here, but it's not too bad. We've been on our own, and moss grows fat on a rolling stone. For the king and queen in a coat he borrowed from James Dean. That came from you and me. Doesn't really make sense for that to be a red pinkish thing, but I needed it to at least stand out from the dress. The courtroom was adjourned. No verdict was returned. When in the republic of Mars, content practiced in the park. I love this song, Miss American Pie. It's a good song. Bye, bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. There, and that'll be the little light coloring on lavender. It's raining. Oh, I wish it was raining here. Ooh, drawing and wrote in your story. You were writing a story? That's so heckin' exciting. If you're comfortable, I'd love to hear about it. Got 4 new pencils. Are they like fancy pencils or just regular pencils? Like drawing pencils, like you know, like HB pencils, 1B, 2B, 1H, 2H. Played a marching tune. Got up to dance. So never got the chance. Actually, we should add a little bit of the marching man refused to yield. The music died. Miss American Pie. 4H and 2H. Nice. No, I live in this, so I live in a valley. And in the valley, it doesn't rain here often. Excuse me. Because, if you guys are familiar with, like, the way that rain works, like, it all, like, so because it's like this, it rains here, then it doesn't rain here. So, like, the shape of the mountains makes it so that it usually, rain usually doesn't get to us, and it makes me really sad, because I love rain. On the stage, my hands were clenched in fists of rage. And as the flames climbed high into the night, I saw Satan laughing with fear. Oh wait, are those pants? Those are probably pants. Oh, what color is them? Miss American Pie drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was there. Yeah, if you want to talk about your story, I'd love to hear it. I mean, it'll take me a minute to like get it all read, because I look at the chat in between doing. The chat isn't like what's the word I'm looking for? Like psychically transmitted to my brain, so I have to take beats and like catch up on the chat. I went down to the sacred store where I'd heard the music years before. And sings. What also makes this that same color? The poets dreamed was spoken. The church bells all were broken. And the feeling of my love. I love rain. The music died. Bye bye, Miss American Pie. Drove Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Drinking whiskey and rum, singing the sweet of the day. Rain with cold. Is it like cold in your house too? I hate it when like cold permeates your house and it can't get out, you know? And you're just like my feet right now are actually really cold. And like once my feet get cold, that's like, that's it. That's game over, folks. My feet ain't gonna get warm anytime soon. That'll be her coloring. Yeah. My computer's always telling me that it's low on space, and I'm like, I know you're low on space. I'm aware. Let's see. Meets a guy and falls in love with him. And one day, when her boyfriend isn't around, she meets a guy named the Darkness. He takes her over and turns her evil. Ooh. Wow. That's dark, but intense sounding. I really like using them. Can advice on watercolors? Oh, doesn't sound rude at all, Svigger. I'm trying to figure out what is there any way you can specify what kind of advice you're looking for? Cuz I can give you advice on I guess like we could talk about using like mixing watercolors. Like, are you talking about watercolors flat like this, or like watercolors in like an actual watercolor painting, like what's it? Because we could talk about watercolor flats like this, or like a full watercolor piece like this one I did, or so just whatever. I'm totally willing to talk. I was actually kind of hoping to like, I'd like to do some different like chat times about like art and stuff, because I love talking art, and I don't know if you guys like I'm really passionate about art and it's the ways it can be implemented and stuff like what's the word I'm looking for, like sketchbooks, like sketchbook practices. But this isn't a sketchbook stream, but if you guys want to talk about sketchbooks, I'll talk about sketchbooks. But I was thinking sometime when I was streaming sketchbooks drawing, because I'd like to do a couple more streams than I have. I used to do, like, 2 or 3 years ago, I used to do streams semi-often, but I've fallen out of practice. Is it theme? Yeah, I'll talk about watercolors. So we'll start with just what I'm doing right now, flats. So watercolors, in theory, don't require any white. Most watercolor sets come with a white, but in theory, you don't actually need a white for watercolors, because watercolor white uses the white of the paper. So I'll make, like I said, you only need a couple colors to really make a diverse amount of color in watercolor. So this is my palette, and you can see that I kind of have like little puddles where I've made a bunch of different colors, and I usually try to find those whenever I'm coloring something again, and like use the same area as previously. So this color, if you see the one I'm using right now, it looks really dark, but I dilute it with so how watercolors work is you have the pigment and you make the color, and then you dilute it with water to make it a lighter color, or you add more pigment to it to make it a darker color. So right now I'm keeping them relatively light color because I don't want any darks right now. Watercolors in practice are all about layers. But right now I'm just doing flats for these couple of paintings. When we get to the later part of the stream, I can show you guys a little bit of how I do like how layering works. But like right now, I guess most of what I can talk about is just like like mixing and so in. Oh wait, 1 second. Let me. Yeah, take me home, country roads. Sketchy ones to be honest, but the ones you just. Oh, thank you. I spent a long time on that snake picture. It was like a week of working on that because the tricky part with layering watercolors is like being patient and letting things dry, and that even is true of flats. So you've seen a couple times when I've done something that is during the stream. Just if you guys have been watching, I'll occasionally goof up, and something that's not supposed to touch something will bleed into it. And it's actually really simple to fix that if you're just quick, because your brush will just suck up the pigment. So you can just like touch your brush to it and kind of like clean up an area. So if I wanted to clean up this right here, I could just, while it's still wet, lightly like brush it and let that let my brush absorb the pigment. But I actually want that color, so we're gonna put that back in. What else can I talk about with watercolor? Hey, welcome to the stream, Wolf Warrior. How to make skin tones. Oh, yeah, I can talk about that really easy, actually. With Canson sketchbooks. And I use Strathmore pretty much, pretty often. Yeah, man, I could talk about sketchbook practices forever. But honestly, like, so fancy sketchbooks are great. I love me a good sketchbook. But anything can be a sketchbook if you want it to be. And you shouldn't, like, feel, like, bound by the conventions of sketchbooks or whatever. Anything can be a sketchbook. And your sketches aren't lesser for being in lined paper or anything than being on, like, regular stuff. So, skin tones, though. Skin tones are so my professor's recipe for skin tones is usually red, a red, a brown, or sometimes like this version of yellow. It's a specific kind. It's like, I want to say it's a sienna or an umber, but I can't remember. Like a mustard. He always do you guys know what fry sauce is? Yeah, beigey color. Beigey color. So he always would describe it as, or yeah, he described it to us as mixing ketchup and mustard. So you mix ketchup and mustard, and then sometimes instead of mustard you use like a darker color. Kind of like I did for this girl. Oh, bye, Hichigo. Thanks for stopping in. Happy New Year. Yeah. So you like mix like ketchup and mustard until you get like a color, and then you can like make it more vibrant by adding more reds or yellows, or you can dilute it down by adding like some bluer tones and that kind of stuff. Let's see. I actually got a new palette, so I can kind of show you guys this. Hold on. Let me just add some last colors onto this, and then we'll switch over to the palette. Whoop. Okay. Skin tones. So skin tones is ketchup and mustard, and then sometimes, because it's really hard to get like good browns if you don't just have a brown, so that's why people usually will have like burnt siennas and stuff. Oh, thank you. I have a couple different drawings saved up that I'm gonna be splashing color onto throughout the course of the stream. Thank you, Maya or Maya. Um, and usually if it's so with watercolor, again, we don't need white, but usually white is also important. So imagine there's white right there. And then you could also add some blue on there. So this is going to be our next picture. So we'll mix a skin tone for her. And I want her skin tone. So usually with watercolors, honestly, my recipe for watercolors is I pick this, so I have I wish I could remember the specific colors in this. I want to say this is a burnt umber though. Well, no, maybe this is burnt umber. Maybe this is more of a burnt sienna. But I take not the reddest and not the coolest. So this is like a very warm brown. So if you guys, here, let's pull up this. So this brown is a very warm brown. This brown is a very cool and dark brown. And then this brown that I like to use for skin tones is somewhere right in the middle of those two. And usually what I end up doing is I grab a little bit of that and I grab a little bit of that red tone just to warm it up a bit because I want it a little bit warmer. And then I dilute that down a decent amount. And I use that as my skin tone. That's still a little bit too warm. So, and usually what you like on watercolors is to keep a little something to test on. Because you're never entirely sure how something's going to appear until it's like there. But of course, you know, you add and you subtract depending on the tone. So I might want something a little bit more yellowy looking. Or maybe that's a little bit too bright. So we'll add a little bit of that blue and we'll change the color a little bit cooler. So you just play around with like basically those. That's kind of these are kind of like the ranges you go in for skin tones. Back to this one. And honestly, for if you have a good paintbrush, you only need a couple paintbrushes to do a lot of stuff. I mean, obviously, it's nice to have a wider range of paintbrushes so that you have like more of a selection. But there's nothing wrong with just having a couple mainstays and then like occasionally having more specialty brushes. I think I always like to have a wide range in case I ever need them, but I usually end up just using a couple brushes. And I just enjoy, like, find ways to implement those specific ones into my. What do you guys think? Should she have a light hair or dark hair? And she's talking with Davy, who's still in the Navy. Probably will be for life. I think my biggest gripe about this palette is that you have a tube of black instead of a spot for black. So I just have to have a spot for black on the palette. It's like over here, which I'm not a huge fan of. As the businessman slowly gets started, sharing a drink they call loneliness, but it's better than drinking alone. Oh, well, I changed that. Oh, well, we'll just roll with it. Who cares? Dark hair? Alright, we'll go with dark hair. We'll actually make it. 'cause he knows that it's me they've been coming to see. What kind of music do you guys like? I've got a really, I feel like a pretty diverse taste. But I always love hearing what kind of stuff people like. Man, what are you doing here? Welcome to the stream, Harrison. Best feeling alright. Vintage indie and country music. Yes. I feel like that's pretty similar to me too. Like kind of like 80s, even like some 70s and 60s music. I'm actually really enjoy country. I grew up with country music. Yeah. Indie music, like I especially find myself attracted to folk indie. That's the good stuff. Rock music. Now we're talking. Nice. I'm actually going to darker her skin tone a little bit more. And oh, that's another important thing to remember a lot when it comes to like painting and coloring and stuff, is that everything is just relative to each other. So a lot of things will look too dark or too light on their own, but you have to see what they look like in reference to the other elements in order to decide whether it fits or not. And then we'll add, just because this is white, I don't want to actually add too much tone to like the armor, but I'm just going to add some brief little like shadows. I see the bright moon rising. I see trouble on the way. I see hurricane crying. Coloring characters. Can you specify at all? Like, what do you mean? Like how do I decide at the moment? When it comes to coloring characters, I think it's important to decide on a color palette for them. I don't know if I have any good examples on me right now. Well, I can show you these guys. So, going too all over the place can be really dangerous. And can make a character look really muddled. So, again, I hope you guys can see just fine. I hope I'm not too far out. If it's ever hard for you guys to see what I'm working on, I can try to find a way to get my camera closer. But so like with this character, I chose green. Her colors are her skin tone, which is brown, the purple, and the green. And then what you do is you play with versions of those. So like lighter versions of the purple and darker versions of the purple. And then if you see, I have like the green and then a darker version of the green. And then it's the same with all of them. They're kind of, and these are all very basic. You can go, it doesn't have to be just like 3 colors for one character, but you want to remain probably somewhere between 3 to 5, to try to make it look all like it comes together. This is like, wasn't a request, but this is a magical girl that I wanted to draw, where her like magical girl gem is like a nose ring. I just thought it would be cool. And a lot of times, like, I've thought about elements of a character before I actually color them. Like, at least, like, skin tone and hair color, usually I have an idea for. I already know for this character what most of her element colors are. Like, I know that I want her beanie to be red. I know that I want her jacket to be blue. I actually think I'm a little bit too cool of a skin tone right now, so we're gonna... Oop, way too much red. And it's also important to know, like, what colors are dominating colors and what colors aren't. Like, red can be very dominating color, so you usually have to add less red. You get, like, more bang for your buck with red, if that makes sense. Oftentimes art classes make you do something that can seem really dumb, which is like makes you do like mix every color. So like I don't think I have that. I don't know where it is. But like they'll do like make you do all blues and then light blues and then dark blues and then blues mixed with this color. Yeah. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask them. Civquer. I'm happy to chat. I'm just blabbing here. And it always like can be really tedious to do those like those kind of things where you're doing all of these just like versions of like the same color but like with different things added to it. But I actually found when I actually like properly sat down and did them that they were like really educational and really helped me to learn what colors added to what make what and that kind of stuff. And it changes with each like palette, each kind of so if you can see it, this color bled over a bit, so I'm using this to blot up the hair and clean up that line a bit. I don't remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, each different kind of so like this specific brand of watercolor will mix together differently than different brands of watercolors. So doing that kind of thing can actually be really good with each kind of brand or each kind of... Not that you necessarily have to sit down and like fill out a chart like that every time you get a new set of colors or something. But like it's just good to make sure that you're acquainted with and know how your colors blend together. Especially blacks. Blacks are made differently. Usually black is just like a very concentrated pigment. Often blue. So doing things like mixing black with yellow will actually make it adopt a green tone. And so you need to be aware that your black will do that before you're using your black. So I know I want a blue, but I don't want the blue to be too bold. So we're going to add, like for instance, I know I want this blue, but I don't want it to be a bright blue like this. So we can add a neutralizing color like brown to it, or we could add the opposite color, or a little bit of black to it, or we could add the opposite color, which is orange. So I could make up some orange, or I could just add some red and some yellow, and we'll end up with a less vibrant blue. Well, my heart knows me better than I know myself, so I'm gonna let it do all the talking. With a black bear coursing a cherry tree. I don't know, what color do I want our eyes to be? What color should our eyes be? Keep on walking. Again, because disperses. cleaning up this line just a little bit. Oop. No, you're not the one for me. No, 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 no. Say no, no. You're not the one for me. Oh. All these years. So I figured this magical girl has like 7 different main forms, and it like cycles through them every time. So every time she fights, it cycles through like in color order. At least that's what I like to think. No, 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 say no, no. You're not the one for me. No, 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 no. No, no, no. Are these No, these are just characters I drew. None of these are main characters for anything specific. They're just, I just felt like drawing, magical girls, so on my Tumblr. And I'll do this on a semi-regular basis on my Tumblr. Probably, like, once a month, once every other month, I'll take requests or ask for, like, ideas or something. And so I ask my Tumblr, for ideas for magical girls. And so that's where these come from. It's my Tumblr. Y'all can follow me over there if you want. I do, like I said, I do semi-often request nights, and I do something, if you guys might find this a little extra sexy, but I do OC request nights on every now and then where I draw people's OCs, because I actually really enjoy drawing other people's OCs. She's a beautiful girl. Green or light blue eyes? I'm vibing with the green. We'll go with the green. Yeah, I like that. That was a good call. Suddenly I see. Suddenly I see. Suddenly I see. She's a beautiful girl. Suddenly I see. Suddenly I see. Means so much to me. So you can also even use watercolors and sketchbooks. You just have to be mindful of not making them too wet. Because if you keep it if you keep them not so wet, or you're not too wet, like it will crinkle the paper a bit, but the paper will absorb them pretty decently, and it won't be like disastrous or anything. I use watercolors, not like I wish I used them more, but I use watercolors in my sketchbooks. If any of you guys have attended my sketchbook tours or attended one of my, I've colored watercolored stuff in my sketchbook on stream before. So if any of you guys have been there, you know that I've done that. Suddenly I see. Ooh, somebody, sorry. Came out of proposes. This is, Paul John. No, these are Van Gogh watercolors. I came up with poses? For the most part, so with almost anything, it's just building your own personal database and your own like personal ability to imagine things. So I think poses is one of my weakest aspects, because I think I semi often repeat pose, like not semi often, very often, end up repeating poses because I can't think of other ones. I have a friend who's really good with poses. But a good thing to do is always, always, always to look up references. If you guys are familiar with Senshi Stock, they are a fantastic database that they're all completely free. They work off of Deviant Art, but they have accounts elsewhere as well. And let me think of, shoot, what was I just talking about? I'm sorry. My brain keeps switching gears to think about different things. What was I talking about? Oh my gosh. An acrylic painter, and I have been always been afraid of water. What does it take to start watercolors? So if you're me, what it takes to start watercolors is I took a painting class in high school that was watercolor focused. And it was a very nice way and a very good way to ease into it, of just starting off with very, very basic stuff, and learning the skills of watercolor, because it operates over from a specific set of ideas. Let's see. Give me 1 second to finish this up, and I can go a little bit more into it. I was talking about poses, but poses are just Senshi Stock is a great reference. What I also do is in video games, I'll take screenshots and then I'll try to redraw what the characters are doing in the screenshots. Or if you watch anime, copy poses that you see in anime. Do detailed ones. Do ones that are only a couple minutes long. I think my sketchbook is up here. Give me a sec. I'll talk about getting into watercolors in a second. Alright, hold on. Real quick, it's been bugging me that I didn't add a little bit of extra. She's been staring at me from just right down next to me. New sketchbook, where did I put you? You know what? I'll take an old sketchbook. Where's my old sketchbook? Sorry, there it is. This is my new sketchbook. But my room is a mess because I have Christmas presents that haven't been put away yet. So when it comes to drawing poses, sorry, before we get into watercolor talk again. So you can do I usually, so this is a complete pose drawn, but for practice I do just these quick sketches that are just the movement and where the limbs are in reference to each other and where the head is in reference to. So when you're drawing something, you want to go with where does this match up with this, and where does this match up with this. So if I were to analyze this pose, I would say, oh, the knee is about where the farthest point of the breast is, or something like that. And so it's just all about seeing where things are in reference to each other. That's quick studies, and then more in-depth studies. I don't think I have any good. I guess this might be closer, but you actually firm up the lines and you leave it less messy, basically. Oh, thank you, Suker. You're sweet. I was drawing. If you guys have seen Brian David Gilbert's Dances Moving series, those are based off of that. I will let you dry on everything. I'm so excited. We're gonna break into the gouaches in a sec. And I'm so excited. About the girl I could have been, my dear. Feelings I cannot return, my dear. But I'm thinking what I'm gonna do is I'm going to do the this background area watercolor to start off with, which will give me the perfect opportunity to talk to, name. Sorry, I pulled up a reference on my laptop, so now I have to go back over. Yes, you work from light to dark. Yeah, it's actually not that scary. This is so funny. I'm very afraid of acrylics. So I haven't used acrylics a ton, but you work from light to dark. And the principles of watercolor is basically layers. So, let's see. So I want to do this. This is supposed to be okay, hold on. I'm going to clean some areas of my palette real quick. And so I'm going to start by building up the background. But I'm terrified of acrylics because they dry so fast that I have the hardest time, like, navigating them. I would feel like the ashes in my cigarette box. So let's see. Do you guys like seeing my hands? I always feel like my hands look like little baby hands because I got like small stubby hands. Oh, actually, I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna go to the restroom real quick. So be right back. And then we'll talk about watercolor. Okay, I'm back. Thank you for your patience, fam. The drying aspect of acrylics, the watercolor is reactivating is exhausting tips. Well, hold on. Let me first start with building up a background. So you start off with. So the biggest thing with watercolor is not only layers, but also the transparency of watercolor. So any watercolor you do, unless you make it super, super dark, is going to be building off of whatever is behind it. Let's see. Sorry, pulling back up my reference real quick. I don't want it to be a picture-perfect replica of this, but I'd like it to be, like, clearly an emulation. I'm trying to... My goal this year is to, my like little art goal is to work on backgrounds a bit more. So these actually are kind of in service of that. So a big thing with watercolors to start off with is usually wetting the area. This will help, especially if you want watercolors to be mixing with each other. Watercolors will mix with each other if they're wet. If they're not wet, they won't. So if you don't want them mixing, just make sure that it's dry before you're doing anything. Hi, my eyes, oh my. I knew I should have taped this down, but I wanted to just work from my sketchbook, not from... And I'd like this to be kind of a seamless-ish background. All my pigment, like, leaks down into, like, the other area. But if you don't want it reactivating, just, be, like, I guess confident is the right word, when you're putting down your color. So I'll pull out... Because I'm going to need to let this dry for a second, so I'll pull out some of my other stuff and show you about, like, not having watercolors reactivate. After I'm done finishing laying down, like, this base color. I'll have to be a little bit less wet with this, because this paper isn't going to do well with wet. It's like a mixed media sketchbook, and I guess I was kind of like going off of like a watercolor sketchbook vibe. Okay, so if I wanted to do the shading on this, but I didn't want to reactivate this color, because this is dark right now. So I usually do shaded blue. But I would just simply not play with it. I'd just put it down and let it sit there. Watercolors reactivate when you're getting them wet. And if they're just reactivating as soon as this is touching, like, it's not like the second that water touches it, it's reactivated. It takes a beat to hydrate, if that makes sense. So as long as I'm not playing with it so long that it's hydrating, then it won't do anything. Like, Here, I'm going to make this little strip of magenta-y, and we'll play with it once it's dry. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. I don't know if I'm making any sense. If I'm not making sense, guys, just tell me, like, Becky, that didn't make sense. Can you explain it better? And I will. I'll find a different way to word it. I don't care. I won't take any offense. Oh, I'm so bad with backgrounds. I love drawing people, but I hate drawing backgrounds. Oh, hey, Kimberly. From Venice. Wow, that's fancy. I actually agree. I think watercolor is, like, easily one of the most difficult. And it drives me crazy that, like, I feel like people just assume people know how to use watercolors. When really a lot of, like, different talking, like lessons and knowing and that kind of stuff is really important to using watercolor well. Oh, thank you, Septic Girl. So now I'm going to build up. So the idea is now, like, now I have put down the lightest color I will probably have, which is these lanterns. So next, I'm going to put down the next darkest color. Or sorry, the next lightest color. Too much green. Green is one of those colors that can be very dominating if you're not careful with it. All colors can be dominating if you're not careful with them. Let's be honest here. So now we'll kind of... And then I'm thinking all this foreground stuff I'll play around with gouache with. So I'm mostly focusing on the background. But because But I'm okay if the other stuff gets watercolor on it. That's why I covered it all with watercolor. Because I know I wouldn't mind. And I wanted everything to have a hint of this bluish color. That's why I covered it. Is because I'd like that to be like kind of the main thematic color. That's why I covered it all with it. Is I didn't want white to be the base. I wanted it to be more of that. The biggest thing with watercolors, which I think is a big thing, well, not the biggest thing. I keep saying the biggest thing, and I seldom mean it. One thing to keep in mind with watercolors is that you should try to make up as much of a color as you think you're going to use, or just be really good at making the same color again. Because if you run out, then you run out. And that would suck if you're like, I need that exact color. Usually, if I run out, I just am pretty good at finding my way back to the color. Again, because I've done practices with mixing colors and getting the same color. Because that's something that was semi-common at... It's like something that we did at my school. And it was actually very important for one of my finals my first year. Was we did this big old painting. Like, when I'm talking big, it's hanging on my wall right now, but I don't want to disturb... Oh, I don't want to disturb you guys too much by bringing it out, but it's like you know what? I'll show you guys real quick. Don't get mad at my ugly room. It's hanging up over there, so it's big. And so we had to find the same color. Like, I had to keep mixing the same color, which was something, but I did it. Graphic charcoal, oils, acrylics. Watercolor is a different kind of beast. Amen, Kimberly. Watercolor just behaves so differently than anything else. And another thing to keep in mind with watercolors is watercolors dry up. So acrylics, those of you guys who are familiar with acrylics dry down, which means that when they dry, they're darker than they appear when they're wet. Oil paints, kind of famously, like one of their biggest strengths is that they dry exactly or extremely close to how they look when they're hydrated. But watercolors, when it dries, it's a little bit lighter than it is when it's wet. Oh yeah, this song is "And" by Tally Hall. I love this song. So you just leave the white of the paper for those stark white highlights. Oh, when I do stark white highlights, I usually pull out an acrylic, and I do the highlights. But in theory, if you're like probably a watercolor purist or something, yeah, you would just leave the white. I'm not a purist. I think mixing media is fantastic, and there's no reason not to. Sound and silence, stop the peace and keep the violence, and we digress. Oh! Ah! Oh well. It is what it is. This is just practice painting. And honestly, every painting is just practice painting. Nothing's gotta be perfect ever. And belaboring over trying to make something perfect is just gonna make me depressed. I didn't even think about how this tripod could possibly get in the way. Silly me. Communist, you did the hokey pokey. And then if I don't want these bright lines, I can put water and it'll spread out. And those lines will become much, much less like, what's a straight, obvious, clean, much less clean, much softer. There we go. less hard. I am upset that I cannot fall in love, but I guess this avoids the stress of falling out of it. Are you tired of me yet? I'm a little sick right now, but I swear when I'm ready, I will fly us out of here. I'll cut my hair. It is. Watercolors is quite the beast. And I'm not sure I always use them to the best of their abilities, but I sure find them fun. And I think they're very convenient. Who cares when you mix media, right? I know, right? I hate those elitist rules when it comes to art. You shouldn't trace, never use black paint, only use one medium all throughout. And the list goes on. Insanity. Exactly. And the worst part is, I feel like a lot of those like rules are advice that, when in the correct context, makes sense and is really helpful. Like, don't use black. Doesn't mean don't use black. It means incorporate darker versions of other colors into your pieces because it makes it more interesting and can add really a lot of depth. But it doesn't mean never touch black, really. Like, only use one medium usually means try to find out, learn about the how to use a medium to its fullest abilities. Like, don't use other mediums as a crutch, but not don't ever mix mediums, or like don't use like when it's you shouldn't trace. It usually means you shouldn't trace for like a final picture or something. But tracing can actually be a great way. Excuse me, or you shouldn't take credit for something that you've traced. But tracing can be a really good way to help you build up your hand memory to draw something on your own. References are Munia. Hi, gorgeous. References are great. Dude, you don't even know. You don't even know. You should have seen Munia. I know Munia are IRL. And Munia has this one picture that she did recently of Dionysus from, what's it called? Hades. And it was, her sketch was good, and then she found a reference, and it was like, what a boppin' picture. Now we talkin'. Sexy beast of a man. But one thing I do like about watercolors, because they're so soft and so malleable, is that you can give the impression of things without having to always fully define the things. Which I think is something that's really nice. I put this song on here back to back. Okay, I'll skip over this. Give me a sec. This avoids the stress of falling out of it. Let's see. And I feel like another thing that's really scary with watercolor... Oh, this paper's gonna not tolerate this watercolor for much longer. But another good thing with watercolor is that... Or another hard thing, but is really neat. Okay, I'll put it that way. It's tricky when it's with watercolor, but I think at the end it's like really cool. I think it's hard for you sometimes to see how a piece is coming. And I think this is true with a lot of things, but I think especially for watercolor. I think in the middle of something, it's hard to tell if something's looking good. And so I think a lot of times people will let that discourage them and they'll stop a piece before it's done. That if they had continued to play with it for a little bit longer, they would it could be something really good, but instead they stopped, and it's like it's stopped too soon. I think watercolors can require a lot of work before it's somewhere good, and I think that can be frustrating, like rightfully frustrating. Not that it's weak or anything to like get frustrated because the piece isn't looking right yet. On my touch tone telephone. Oh, I got some water, so I can just. There we go. I'm crying now. Authentic tears. Have you guys seen the animatic to this song for Hollow Knight? That's good. And then they colored it, like, I think a couple months ago, and I was like, oh, I always loved this, but now it's colored, and so it's even better. Okay, I told myself I'd play with gouache, so I need to stop. I need to wrap up the watercolor background soon. Because I told myself I'd play with my gouache, but I'm also kind of scared of my gouache. Because I've never used gouache before. So it's a new medium for me. But I'm not sure I'm fully satisfied with this background yet. Love that blue. Aw, thank you. We'll leave the background like that for now and start playing with gouache, like I promised myself I would. Okay. So I'm gonna move this off to the side, let that dry while I prep a palette for gouache. My field. Yes, it's all real. Ancient aliens, it's all true. Just like you and like you, I'm a genius. Before. So gouache is supposedly a halfway point between watercolor and acrylic. I've never used it, and I've always wanted to, so I'm excited, but I'm so scared. Oh, this is a piece of the piece I'm currently working on is Hollow Knight fan art of Benjamin Greenpath. I have a couple different Hollow Knight fan arts sketched up that I'm gonna do until I get tired of streaming, and then I'll call it a day. Oh, bye, Squidward. Happy New Year. Thanks for popping in. Love having you here. Cool. Okay, we're halfway there. I think I have one more color than is. There are spots on this palette. We'll make it work. Man, I love seeing all those colors like lined up. Things in color order are just so pleasing to the eye. Here, I'll leave out orange, and we'll hop right to red. Because I can make orange pretty easy. I don't really need a spot for that. Oh, actually, 2 spots down. Well, I do want this dark red. Oh, this isn't even a dark red. What a plot twist. Ochre. That's the mustard color. Mustard yellow is ochre. That's the word I was looking for. Okay, we'll go with that for now. Okay, back into the fray. Well, let's see how dry this is actually. It's okay. Oh, let's get this in. By the girl with the golden hair, ruby lips, a popping gum, and electric stare, and the moonlight catching on her pretty hair. Belt buckle grease, and my white Cadillac, may it rest in peace. Every one of you nostalgic nights. Gone to us. Gone to us. Me too far. Vanishes despite my wishes. I'll rest with every one of you. I need a thinner tip for this. It's all gone. What the? I was looking for this, and it was with my paintbrushes. Baby, don't. Where's my good tin boy? Well, there we go. With you, rest with you, nostalgic nights. Gone, gone to us. It's all gone, gone, gone to us. It's all gone. It's all gone. Gone to us. Oh, is the article about Silksong out? Did you read it? I didn't even think about. I need to go get that right now. Well, not right now. I'm gonna go with this, but I do want to read it. I forgot, honestly. I know that's like hard because I'm so hyped about Silksong, but like it slipped my mind. The big artiste. Ain't you working on your masterpiece? Brother, what do you care? You'll find another muse somewhere. down below. Down below. 6 feet under the ground below. Oh, that's purple. I guess you weren't listening. Just how far would you go for her? The end of time. To the end of the earth. You got a ticket? Nope. I didn't think so. Of course, there is another way, but I ain't supposed to say. Around the back. But that ain't easy walking, Jack. You really want to go? With all my heart. Yeah, with all your heart. How to get to Hades Town. Through the underground. Under cover of night. I love Hades Town. I've actually been wanting to do a Hades Town animatic for a long time, but I don't know if I'll get to it. Actually, I do have an animatic in the process for a song from Hades Town. Not for Hades Town, like it's for my OCs, but it's to the song Flowers. I'm excited for it. Let's play some videos. Sounds like they're just polishing up the game, but I could be wrong. Ooh. Team Cherry is gathering ideas for a new non-Hollow Knight related game now. I'm excited. I love Team Cherry, and I hope that they're doing good stuff and don't like feel too chained down by Hollow Knight. Because obviously everybody's going to want Hollow Knight, but I'm sure that they have stories to tell that are unrelated to the game, you know? Sorry, 1 second, I'll catch back up. What's laughable as well is that if you draw from memory. Oh, you need reference either from photograph or the... Yeah. Oh my gosh. There's so much stigma about using reference. But in reality, a lot of like the truly great art and stuff out there has a reference. It's just because they don't advertise the fact that something used a reference doesn't mean it didn't, you know? And lost track of one of my favorite, because I was using some different shapes for a second there, and I lost track of where I put my favorite. What's that? Paintbrush. Paintbrush? Oh. This one's too chunky. It's like just the right size. Where did I put him? Oh, there he is. This one. See the moon sleep down in the sky, darling. Let your fantasies fly, darling. Light. So with any luck, then it sounds like we'll get Silk Song this year, which I'm excited for. How you turn and someone betrays you, and the game's reversed. Caught in the middle of one treacherous little. We'll shamble on through this hell, taking all secrets to sell. Miss, your lover is beckoning, comes that moment of reckoning. Faces change, even smiles grow strange. The real self often erases enticing mind. The more you stare in the mirror, the more. I don't know if this won't be the most beautiful thing on the planet, but I'm just playing around here. It don't matter. Can I run to you? Are you true to me? As you do to me. Someone has to run back to you. For every Judas once loved Jesus, but I knew treason was Caesar's, and only fools follow golden rules. Oh, that's still. I keep grabbing purple thinking it's blue. I'm so silly. It's still purple. No matter how many times I grab it, it's still purple. Wait and see. I'm afraid to do the character in this. It's such a controversial topic in art community whether an artist uses reference or not. If these tools yield a masterpiece that makes you happy, it shouldn't bother you. Oh, I agree, absolutely. Are you working on any more animatics? Yes, right now I am working on... I'm almost always working on an animatic off to the side. I'm trying to do some that'll get out quicker than I got out Turn the Lights Off. As in they're less strenuous. My current one that I'm working on is Flowers from the song Hadestown to one of my characters whose name is Marion. And it's just gonna be the very end part of the song, not the whole song, because that's too much. And like I said, I want to do a couple more quicker ones. Because I worked on Turn the Lights Off was like a 3-month or at least a 2-month project. So I'd like to do a couple quicker ones. Madame Guillotine. Oh, that actually doesn't need to be right. That needs to be back. Oh well. Hadestown is so good. I'm just heated up because a girl in an art forum I'm also in was criticized for having a beautiful piece because she traced. I agree that I don't enjoy people discouraging people. But I do think traced art specifically is a very nuanced subject. And it's one that is like, it's a very like tread carefully, because by tracing art you could also be potentially, especially if you're selling it for profit, like stealing from the person who originally created the thing. I think traced art is, like I said, is a very nuanced debate. Especially if you don't have permission from the original artist to trace. But was it traced from an artist or was it traced from a model? Excuse me. And were they getting art for it? Or, you know, like, there's so many things in it. And especially if it's just a forum about, like, loving art and creating art, and it's not, like, for profit or anything, then I don't think there's really a reason to, like, condemn people. I'm not exactly sure how I want to color this guy. We'll figure it out. My white is already, like, all muddied up. Sorry, I use a free version of Spotify. So I get all those sweet, sweet ads for products I don't care about and will not be buying.
Our biggest storage event just got stronger. The Store More, Save More event going on now at the Home Depot. Get exclusive HDX black and yellow tough goods starting at just $4.98. They're heavy duty, durable, and come in a range of sizes from 7 to 70 gallons. So whether you need to store a little or store a lot, you're going to save loads. Make room for big savings at the Store More, Save More event going on now at the Home Depot. Our doers get more done.
Tracing is tricky area in terms of copying the art and claiming it as your own, or copying the art in terms of study. Exactly. Tracing a copyrighted reference. And like, for instance, if I were to like put this out here and then someone traced it, then I wouldn't be comfortable with that because I put a lot of time into this, you know? One again, like, if you trace something and all it does is it exists in your sketchbook as a study, that's fine. But if you trace something and then you sell it or you put it out there claiming it to be your own and don't even do like the minimum of saying who you traced from or what you traced from, and you should never trace someone's art without their permission. But at least like if you did, you should be defo crediting them. Then I think you're entering like a real shady area. I'm so bad at doing faces. That's me. I'm not entirely sure how I want to do him because he's white on white, but white is never just white. White is always a different color. Home with the milk in the morning, singing a singing song. Rise with the sun, go to bed with the sun, or leave to bed and you'll miss all the fun. Womp 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 womp. A blackjack or a gun. We're running after me. I stand behind the integrity of an artist's creation. So copyrighted by all means, especially selling your art. Yeah, exactly. But again, if it's like if it's just the study, then I think people being critical of somebody for studying, and from studying from a reference and even tracing it, to get, because I think that there is something to be said for getting the hand feel of what making certain motions feels like, and that kind of stuff. Actually, gonna toss a little bit more paint. And let's find out what it does. I feel like I can goofed this up. Especially though tracing when it comes to an unfamiliar thing. Like, I think if somebody were to, I think the best example I saw for it was where it was talking about tracing a car to understand how to draw a car, because cars are so hard to draw. And then it's like you trace from a reference, and then you try to draw it on your own, and then you trace, and then you try to draw it on your own, and you keep kind of going back and forth in a pattern, in a rhythm almost between the two until you understand how it looks and how the drawing of it goes. And it's okay if this doesn't look good, because this is practice, right? It's okay if it doesn't look good. When this is over, then we'll resume. get you, gonna get you, gonna hear. Let's find out what it does. Shoot, 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 shoot. Here, we're just gonna color this all like a blackish color, and then we'll add the nuances of what's going on here as we go. This is my new plan. No idea what the F I'm doing here. All my bones are crunchy. The doors are all locked down. I reach that corridor. He's ripped from the room, engulfed in flames, but they'll be out. All the things to go wrong while out in space. Firefly. That leg of that tripod again. Always forget it's there. Oh, burning in space. Where is that light coming from? That's shedding light on this thing. Oh, burning in space. Crunchy bones. I always have crunchy bones. And I'm actually going to be putting this up because I'd like this not to be like with white gaps in it. Ugh. I don't know if I can take care of that light. But we'll give it a go. There we go. Getting into the onto the next page, but whatever. Oh, burning in space. Alright, I'm done with this song now. Where are we on this playlist? Ooh. Is the supplier and fire. I thought I said next song. There we go. Now I actually said the next song. I'm gonna wait for that to dry before I do that. Was born with roses in her eyes, but then they buried her alive one evening, 1945. And only weeks before the guns all came and rained on everyone. With what our brother wrapped in white, says it was good to be alive, but now he rides a comet train. And falls apart. Of the life we used to know. To carry on. This song would actually be good for Hollow Night. That they'd rather see their faces filled with pride. As a fellow YouTuber, do you think Shane Dawson's career has run its... Who's Shane Dawson? Hi Angel, welcome to the stream. Who's Shane Dawson? And I mean, I am a fellow YouTuber, but like, come on guys. I've only got, what, like 5,000 subs? And trust me, I am grateful for all 5,860 of my subs. But I'm not exactly like a famous YouTuber. How could I have known I was wrong? So a dream that I could share. I thought I was so lucky, it wasn't fair. Everything I ever thought I knew, where I'm going. Should have known. Everything I ever thought I knew. Once again, should have known. Now I do. I don't know if this is making any sense what these elements in the background of this are supposed to be. But I guess it doesn't really matter, huh? I guess it was a sham. I guess I'm someone else now. Wonder who I... And I'm not a huge fan of whatever this... I know, like, I put that blob there, but I'm not a huge fan of whatever that blob is. So I think we'll add a little bit more sexy element to it. Increase the sex appeal of this blob here. You can't hide. Please buy stuff from Taco Bell or whatever. Look, I can make fun of Taco Bell as much as I want. Not like they sponsor me, and not like I'm gonna make any money off this stream, because I like listening to music while I work, and that means that I have to pay the low price of not making money off of, like, any of my work. Because all my stuff is copyrighted. Like, not by me, but, like, I use music from, like, you know, people. So. Except now it looks like the background's, like, too light. You think? I don't know, but maybe it's interesting, even if it's too light. I don't know. I don't know backgrounds, dude. And I said I was going to work on backgrounds, and I feel like I haven't even actually been working on this background. Ooh. Oh, send me that Hollow Knight animatic, Marin. Oh, thank you. Happy New Year to you as well. Did I like Tangled the series? I only experienced Tangled the series from a distance. In that I know a lot of the songs because they're heckin' bops, but I don't know a lot of what actually happened in the series. But it looked like it was really good. I guess that from what I can tell though, there wasn't like enough Flynn stuff for my liking. I really like Flynn. I think he's an interesting character. And as far as I feel like they did a couple things with him, but just like not a ton. That he was played a support role, which is he does play a support role in Rapunzel's life, obviously, but like just played a support role in the show itself. And again, that's not necessarily bad. It just made me sad because I really like him. What are you gonna do? But Cassandra seemed like a very cool character. I wonder if and I'm sure that maybe either part of it is if that's just not the story that they wanted to tell, or I could easily see part of it being that Disney had specifications on how they treat it and what they do with the characters, and so they were bound by those things, which is something that happens in many media that borrow from a mainline big company. So probably, which is almost definitely why Cassandra exists in the first place, which is good because she's a good character. But is because she's, by her being a character of their own design, they can do what they want with her and put her through specific kind of story beats and put her into specific emotional capacities that I'm sure that they weren't allowed to put mainline Disney characters through. I really am just playing Calvin Ball with this picture, huh? In the real world. My shoulder hurts so bad today. I don't know why. I must have slept on it funny. Do I love Batman? I do not know who Batman is. Well, no, that's a lie. I know who Batman is. I don't consume much Batman media. Seems like a cool dude, though, but I don't really have any opinions on him. I don't know him that well. We're not a very big superhero fan, or at least I'm not a big superhero person. I don't dislike him or anything, I just don't end up consuming a lot of superhero media. Don't go crying to your mama, 'cause you're on your own. Oh, this is still wet. Oopsies. Oh, we'll work with it. Ain't it fun? Ain't it fun? Ain't it fun? Ain't it fun? Living. Good and good. Oh, too much. We'll work with it. Okay, we're getting close. Oh, thank you, Zoe. You're very kind. I just feel tired and I barely move a muscle inside my apartment. Am I alone? This quarantine is dragging. Yeah, this quarantine is dragging. No kidding. Look, I will wear a mask as long as I have to wear a mask. No questions asked. But, boy, am I sick of wearing masks. I miss days when I used to not wear masks. So I need to put in the foreground stuff that's going to be kind of dark like this. And then I'm going to do, I think, a little bit more darkening of the background. And then I'll probably be done. I'm close to done with this. Hold on a second. I'm going to grab some epoxy. And I feel bad. There's another flight restriction. I thought I was just leaving quarantine back then. And yet here we are in 2021. Yeah, amen. It's been a while. I think everyone thought it was just going to be something back in March. Who is it? What is I want to say there's a religion or there's a mentality though. And not that I would never I think this pandemic has been in this entire situation. It's shitty and it is bad and it affects a lot of people much worse than it affects me because I live in a position of a lot of privilege. But there's this mentality that in order for the truly great things to happen, good things to happen, like the world works in balances. So there has to be bad things in order to provide room for the good things, which I think is a unique way of looking at it. And so I guess it's just that I hope that emerging from this awfulness, there will be immense change and immense good to come. I could also do the Hollow Knight animatic to this one. I could do a Hollow Knight animatic to anything. get that foreground stuff started on. I'd say you're not alone. I'm definitely more sluggish during this quarantine, but I already went into this expecting at least more than a year based on history. But yeah, it's definitely exhaustion. Not to mention, while the year dragged on, we're already in a new year. So at least we know this isn't a state of permanence. Yeah. Things will continue. Life will continue. Life is continuing. I'm writing this letter and wishing you well. Mama, we all go to hell. Mama, we're all gonna die. Stop asking me questions. I'd hate to see you cry. Mama, we're all gonna die. Nope, that's way too late. Oopsies. Oh, because I wasn't supposed to be going that far back yet. Oopsie doopsies. I forgot what I was doing. My love. Mama was out for the flies. Right now they're building a coffin your size. Well, mother was wanting to my legs into my love. Stop, baby girl, a better son if you could. I think I went too dark, but that's okay. Because this is gouache, so I can recover from dark color. But I just need to set like a back dark tone for this area. I need to let that dry for a second. So I guess we'll dip into this upper area. One second. I think my parents are calling me. Ugh. Ugh. Did you call me? Hello? Well, I don't know. Nobody was there. Oh, my parents were just telling me that they left the house, which is fine. How has this impacted me? Like I said, I come from a place of a lot of privilege, so luckily it has impacted me not as bad as I know it's affected others. I've been very fortunate that I've still gone to school. I've continued a lot of the stuff I was doing. I actually just really started doing commissions this year, so I don't really know how it's affected commission prices for artists overall. I don't really. You guys are all welcome to do commission. DM me if y'all want commissions. I love doing commissions. I have almost only I do commissions occasionally, but I have almost only one person that actually commissions me, and they're a peach, and I love them. But I really don't get commissions often, so I don't know if that's typical or if that's usually artists are overflowing with commissions, and it's just because of the pandemic. If it wasn't for who knows, maybe if it wasn't for the pandemic, I'd be a rich artist, but I don't usually make a lot of money from my art and stuff, and like I said, I've been fortunate enough that I've been continuing to go to school and study art and
And beat your next holiday playlist with our shoppable holiday recipes. Only
all that jazz.
whatsfordinner.com. Funded by Beef Farmers and Ranchers.
I'm fully aware of where I am in society, which is not the peak. I'm not like I'm far from rich, um, but I'm also definitely not in the worst position. Run to Taco Bell. I feel like if I were to do, sorry, thinking about every time this comes up, it makes me think of ads, and I feel like it would be fun to do like anti ads, like obviously y'all know that Audible is like a big company for like ads and stuff. I feel like it would be fun to do like not anti Audible ads, but uh, ads for other services that are better than Audible. Like there's audiobook services that run through like libraries and stuff, so they're free and available to everyone. And nobody talks about them because all people know is Audible because Audible spends so much money on advertising. But Audible ain't paying me, so I don't have to like be like Audible is definitely the way to go. I can be like, hey y'all, did you know that if you get, I want to say it's one of them is like Red Shelf or something. I know another one is Overdrive. If you get this, then you could just like, and if you have a library card, you can just listen to any book that like goes through your library system, but like audio. Bam. And if you had just given me money, Audible, I would be able to like say, oh yeah, I'm legally obligated to Audible or whatever, but I'm not. So I can say what I want. I'm not in the mood for this song. I pulled out a piece of Pocky to eat, and oh, there it is. Let's listen to some more of My Chemical Romance, shall we? I don't travel a lot, so hasn't really affected my travel itinerary. Did you get what you deserve? The ending of your life, and if you get to heaven. Dead. Ran out of blue already. I use blue way too much. I think we can all face that fact. And if we get to heaven. Whoop, I put that in the wrong spot. Oh well. That won't do. Oops. Oh well. We'll fix these hanging plants. I'm gonna have to let it dry before I do that. Well, dry a little bit more. Except I want to flip the page. I didn't think this through, okay? I'm willing to admit that. You're in New York right now, but it feels like you don't know. Don't know what? I speak sometimes and don't listen to myself speak. Don't know what. If life ain't just a joke, then why are we laughing? Then why am I dead? Lives in the books. Sorry, just a couple. I think I usually don't order my playlist in a specific way because I use free Spotify on my phone. But when you play it off of your computer, it will automatically play them all in order. So when I find songs, I usually chase a bunch of, like, if I start thinking of My Chemical Romance songs, I'll chase a bunch of My Chemical Romance songs all at the same time. That's not a big deal until I'm listening to it on desktop and suddenly I'm like, oh man, I really put 12 My Chemical Romance songs in the same playlist, back to back to back. Still feel like this doesn't look dark enough, but whatever. We'll make them play for the things that they did. Unless it was like some comment I made about like, I don't really know how to be an artist because big mood. As long as someone will breathe. Alright. I think we'll call that done for that piece. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but it's a complete piece. And then we'll do a couple more, maybe. I don't know. How long has the stream been going on? Too long? 2 hours! Well, we'll give this a second to try. And then we'll look at what else I sketched out. Because I think I had a couple that I did want to do. And I mean, I had no other plans today. We don't really have to color that one right now. We don't really have to color those ones right now. I'll do these, I'll maybe color these properly on a different stream. So we'll call it a day today. Maybe I'll get around to doing maybe my New Year's resolution will last not just one stream, but I'll actually manage to get 2 streams in. It will be really cool. But thank you guys for swinging by and chilling out for a bit as I ramble on for 2 hours and do some art. Thank you, Marin. I think it's actually decent looking. I actually don't dislike it. Alright, I'll catch you guys some other time. Feel free to chat with me in the comments of any of my stuff, and I will see you later. Happy New Year!